Good evening and welcome to another edition of awakentheworld.ca. My name is Garen, and this evening we're going to be discussing the blog post on surrendering and what surrender really means. Um, Surrender is very close to sacrifice, if we want to look at it that way. But the core difference is that surrender is a full-time verb, and I mentioned that in the sacrifice video. Surrender is something that we need to do in every moment of every day. And the reason this is so is it's the only choice. And I mean, you'll come to understand that. In one of my previous video discussions, I had spoken about how that the physical world, what you see in front of you, is actually an edifice. It's a monument. It's kind of the leftover. So in the same way, we don't really have any choice but to surrender. Um, the idea flies in the face of the people who will tell you, well, you can manifest anything you desire. All you have to do is think about it long enough. All you have to do is focus on it enough, and you can manifest anything you desire. Well, that isn't surrender. That's ego trying to get something to please itself, and it never works. It never finds fulfillment in that. And just another point that came up in that discussion on that same subject. What would happen if we all manifested our desires? This planet would have died a long time ago, and us along with it. Surrender is the truth of life. Okay, whatever's right in front of you simply is. Surrendering is actually the only choice you really have available. Like I said, it's already there. To not surrender, to not accept what already is lunacy. I mean, you can beat your head up against a situation that's already happening all you want, but it's already there. Giving up, surrendering to it, dropping your judgments of it. That's where life really begins. Surrendering is not a one-time affair, okay? Although it must be practiced in every minute of every day, it's one of the simplest spiritual practices that you can actually undertake. What it takes is you just give up. Give up having opinions. Give up judging things as good or bad. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy what comes. And in that surrender, in that giving up, you'll find that that's where the magic of life can truly begin. And it's that on what we're going to focus on today. In the moment we surrender our judgment and accept what is as simply what is, we become open to the wisdom of our higher selves. We become open to the synchronicity of why this is occurring. Like I said before, it's already there in front of you. There's no use fighting it. Surrender means simply accepting that it is there without judgment. Then you can begin to look and see where the lesson or where the opportunity for growth and evolution lies in what you see in front of you. But of course, if your ego's in the way and you're all tied up in your head about how bad things are and couldn't things be together or better for you in this situation, you'll become blind to the truth. The creator, God, she, that infinite sea of consciousness, which is about the thing I'm most comfortable with saying, okay? The only reason surrender comes into the picture at all is it opens the door for grace. When we surrender, I mean, look at it like this. Let's say you get in a car accident tomorrow. God forbid that any of us do. But if we do, first and foremost, there's a reason for it. There's a synchronous event going on. Now, let's say that someone who does have a car accident breaks a leg. Now, you can look at that one of two ways. You can look at that as a miserable situation. I'm not going to be able to ride my bike. I can't go skiing this weekend, whatever the case may be. Or in surrendering to what is, You may find the magic of writing that you never had experienced before, or have a chance encounter with someone who you wouldn't have seen because you would have been off skiing. I mean, you just don't know. And it's this not knowing that we, we can focus on and really take joy in. And then it can become more like a game where the situations that come into your life you simply accept. And then you have fun trying to determine what it is that you're meant to get out of it, which is a much more fun way to live. Giving up is really our only choice. Like I said, what is already manifested is already there, no matter what our judgments about it. Surrendering offers us the opportunity to take the pressure off ourselves, to not feel bad about it, to not allow it to affect our vibrational state. And as I've said, it opens the door for the wisdom of the higher self to come in and show us why the situation is here. You know, as in the last video discussion, the creative essence of the universe cannot help but love you. You're part of it. You know, uh, imagine the every cell in your body being totally self-aware, and quite frankly, I think they are. Okay, and the one cell says to the other cell, you know, I kind of feel all alone in the world. How about you? And the other cell says, well, there's lots of us around. And the first cell says, do you ever get the idea that there's something bigger? And the other cell says, no, no, I've heard people talk about that, but I really can't get into that. All this time, none of those cells are consciously aware that they are simply individuated parts of a magnificent whole. And we are the same way. Surrender can help teach us that. It can help remind us. It also fits in with the truth of every spiritual teaching that's ever been told. You're not here for a rough ride. The rough ride occurs up here in our head. And as I've said before, the only power that egoic voice has is to talk to you. You don't have to buy into it. You know, one last thing before we wrap up for tonight, speaking about surrender, my wife lost her, I guess, father-in-law yesterday. I mean, way to go. His name was Ed. Way to go, Ed. Ed is dead. Um, he's graduated. He's moved on. That's wonderful. When people die in our lives, we need to take that same approach of surrender. That is one of the times that surrender can be the most helpful. Nobody dies by accident. Nobody goes before their time. No one is too old. No one is too young. When you die, according to your physical manifestation, okay, because you never do die. I've tried twice and it didn't work, so believe me. Um, when you die, in surrendering now to the idea that death will one day come, allows you to live life more fully. Realizing that when someone dies and surrendering to their death as well, that they've graduated. They have done what they needed to do. Don't diminish that death by getting overly soppy about the body that's left over. Because I got to tell you, in the moment that they transition to a higher dimension of existence, that they were no longer concerned about the petty things that the ego is concerned about down here. And my wife and I have had this discussion this evening. She's having some difficulties with it, of course, because she had to find out third hand, and there's really been no communication. Uh, but at the end of the day, I said to her, you know, it's not like this doesn't happen over and over and over again all the way around the world. I mean, 40,000 children a day die of starvation alone. Why is it we get so upset at one death if it's someone we know, and yet ignore 40,000 children?
Yeah.
And the reason being is that we don't surrender to the idea that we're equally responsible for each other, no matter whether we know them personally or not. You know, there's no egoic attachment to those 40,000 children, but there's a deep attachment in my heart to them. We as human beings have the choice to surrender all the time, to surrender our negative emotions, our negative states, to surrender our need to be right, to surrender our need to get revenge, or to necessarily, you know, to intentionally go out and do harm to someone. Surrender those things. Look inside ourselves first and see what parts of ourselves that we need to surrender to. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a wonderful, simple spiritual practice, and it takes all the load off. I hope this has been helpful. It's wonderful to speak with you all again, and namaste, and have a wonderful night, and we'll be talking again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.